Obviously the very basics. Basic gear, you're hunting remote. You're not going to do this sitting on the side of the road. You're not going to be able to roll down the dirt road with the rifle out the window like some of the deer hunters do. This is remote stuff, so prepare accordingly. Take serious consideration of your personal physical skills. How fit are you? How far can you go safely? Is it a nice, September day? Are we talking about wintertime where we're post-hole and we need snowshoes? So take that into consideration. We all used to living in the mountains, so give real serious deference to the weather conditions also. Those are the things that'll come back and bite you. Obviously you need all your basic gear, which is a well-outfitted pack. With as far as your water, your food, maybe some extra clothing, all the things you would need for remote. How am I going to get by if something bad happens? Because a lot of this happens in timber, a lot of it happens in blowdown, and those are recipes for frosty blowdown logs for getting yourself twisted up. So really give that a lot of serious consideration. I always take a hiking stick. I'm not as young as I used to be, but most importantly, not only does it give me stability going through that stuff, it also gives me a little modified rest if I need to just sit here, have that stick. So I like to be sitting when I'm shooting and when I'm hauling. It also gives me the ability to give me a bit of a tripod or a bipod type of a stability, a stabilizer. So obviously your clothing is appropriate for the conditions. So we do a lot of this in the fall where there's a lot of transitions between in the mornings it can be really cold, it can get hot in the afternoon, it can also be snowing in late September. So dress accordingly, be aware of what your conditions are. Guns. Everybody talks about guns. We do not need the latest Mega Blaster 2000, with a 5 to 50x scope. Maybe some of those long range boys over, on the east side or some of these big open areas. Northwest Montana, it's going to be in the timber. And you'll be lucky if you can see 100 yards, let alone 200. So the most important considerations for your guns is take something you're used to, okay? Take your favorite deer rifle. I tell people, I said, the varmint rifles are great, but a 223 or a 22-250 is not what I would want to count on when I have the first wolf I've ever hunted, and I've spent all season hunting, and here he is, and I put a 45 or 50 grain slug into him. Will it kill him? Absolutely. Does it need to be a well-placed shot? Absolutely. But there's also, they're not bulletproof, but these guys are incredibly tenacious. They will spin, they will run, and if it's dry ground, good luck on trying to find that thing. It is tough. So I tell people, take something that would be appropriate for taking deer, probably talking about a bare minimum of 100 grain, fairly well constructed bullet, so we'll call it a 243, 308s, 30-06s, 270s. Any of that stuff will work wonderfully. You're probably going to be more familiar with it. And more importantly, is it gives you the opportunity to take a shot at any angle. Because if I'm shooting I normally carry a 308 or a 7.62 by 39, which is basically the AK round out of an AR. That 30 grain bullet, 125 grainer, running 23 to 2700. I can take a Texas heart shot with that one if I need to. Okay, that's not what I'm wanting to do. Always try and get him up there in the chest. But if that's the shot I have, and I can guarantee that it's got a straight flight path to the vital organs, I want something that'll do that. It also gives a significant more, a little more whack to them. I know people that have shot them with the 223s, and I know two of my friends that have lost them with 223s. So like I said, were those wolves dead? Yes, but the problem is they're dead 150 yards into there, and on dry ground, snow, maybe a different ball game. But I really lean to a heavier bullet and to a rifle that you're comfortable with. Talking about scopes. If you can want to designate a rifle, if you got a 1 to 4 or 1 to 6, maybe a 2 to 7 or even a 3 to a 9, those are all great. The serious thing to consider is the field of view. Anytime you're hunting, that scope needs to be turned all the way down, okay? You don't want it on 9X if you're pulling up and you're trying to shoot a wolf literally at the rear tire of that blue truck right there, okay? The 9X, if they're up there on that hillside, you got all the time in the world to dial it in, okay? But you want to be prepared for the close-in, wide field of view. So have that thing dialed down. The lower the better as far as I'm concerned, because the field of view is critical if you're calling. Even in this type of thing, if you had a stand right here on this table and you were just covering this area, who couldn't make this shot with a 1X or a 2X, right? So you don't need that high-end magnification. So be aware of that. So a lot of these scopes nowadays have red dot or a dot in the center reticle. So that's what I run on mine because it just is so much faster. So having that, I shoot loophole VXRs, and those scopes all have what they call a fire dot. Many of the brands have them nowadays. So that dot, which lights up and you can adjust the intensity, just gives you, because there's a lot going on, guys, when you're inside 50 yards and you got 4 wolves moving towards you. And they're not running away, they're coming in because you're making some great sounds here. They're looking for an injured animal, a fawn deer, a fawn elk. So they're coming in pretty hot, and they're coming in, and if you haven't experienced it before, it's kind of a rush. So the less you have to think about, the more you can focus on making that shot. And if you're earlier in the morning, lots of deep ravines, lots of steep stuff, and I was hiking up one of the trails in there, about probably 1.5 miles in, I'm howling, just getting ready to walk, and I'm not taking off my pack, unloading my machine, figuring out channel 32 is the howl sound, and I want it on volume 40. No, it was just tip my head back, take my hands, and give this nice soft howl. And I had no response. I just started to move, and all of a sudden, boom, I'm hearing howling. And it's 200 yards straight down a slope, I mean darn near straight below me. And I thought, oh my God, here we go. And that's how fast it happens. You'll spend a half a day out there doing nothing, or an entire day out there, and have no response, and all of a sudden, boom, game is on because they're inside a few hundred yards. So I howled, heard that sound, and I thought, okay, great, what do? They're down at the bottom. There is a river flowing. I mean, it's not huge, but it's probably 30 yards across, and it's got a lot of flow, so it's loud. We also know that the wind, there's actually a breeze that follows the creek. So if the creek's flowing that way, with any speed, certainly, it also tends to draw the air down near that creek that way. Something to think about when you're trying to do your final set. I thought, okay, I think I'm going to just do a little bit of cow calling. So I'm going to slide down, try and work down there maybe 100 yards. So I'd howl. They would start going crazy. And I mean, they were with complete abandon howling. And so every time they'd start howling, I'd start making my way down there. You want to be quiet, you don't want them seeing the movement, right? So when they were howling, especially the whole group, that's when I moved. When they stopped, I'd give them a soft howl. The closer I got, the softer I got. Remember, we don't want to be Cujo, we don't want to be the intruder, we want to be the, hi, I'm 18 months old, can I come see you guys? And so I got down there, and I got pretty close where I thought, okay, any closer I'm going to run the chance of blowing it. So I sat there for a few minutes, and I thought, all right, I'm just going to do a few little cow chirps. And I actually used my hoochie mama there. So I'm doing my cow chirps, and nothing. And I thought, oh crap, we got the wind, because I've been doing this for 10 minutes now, right? Just a few chirps. And then I thought, well, this is going to be a problem. So they probably busted me. So instead of going down further, I thought I'm going to go back up, because if they went up the stream or something, I might catch up to them later. I get right back to the top of the hill, my same spot, just for lark. I howled again, and what happens? They exploded. They had not moved 1 inch. They were still in that same spot, and I'm thinking, what in the world is going on here? This is where you got to figure out your terrain, what's going on. Well, I come to realize that they are in that bottom. They are right on the water. They never heard that stupid cow chirp, because they were probably, 100 yards up this way, or 70 yards up the stream. So I thought, well, I'm going to change it up again. Fortune favors the bold, right? So if there's no way to go get them and they're not coming to me, I'm going to go down in there again. Did the exact same thing. Howled, 1 or 2 soft ones. They'd light up, sneak in. They'd stop, howl again, sneak down. This kept up. It got me down there. It had to be 250 yards anyway. I got down there. I thought, okay, I can barely start to see where the water is, and I got this movement thing in my head now. I knew they weren't smelling me. They sure as heck weren't hearing me, because they were in the bottom. That thing was roaring. But once again, we don't want to be seen, because, like I said, you cannot give that enough credence. So when you think about it, just don't move. So I thought, I need to plop down right here. I'm going to sit quietly, and when I got my spot, snuggle, I have my pack on, just lean back against the tree, had a good solid spot. I could see kind of a little bit of clearing and kind of a little trail here and a little trail that went up, just game trails, nothing big. And I thought, all right, what sound are we gonna make here? One more time, I'm just gonna give them a little bit of a soft howl, and they lit up one more time, and I thought, all right, here we go. I can't get any closer, they're still down there. So I started whining. This is gold, because I've never heard anybody in any book talk about whining, but just like when you go home and your dog's standing behind the gate or whatever, he's like, oh, there you are, Dad, or he's in the car. If you just sit there and you do a very soft whine, those guys can hear it. You guys can hear it a little bit here. They can hear it at a significant distance. So I thought, I'm going to be the submissive wolf. I know you guys are down there. Please don't hurt me. I'm very submissive. And boy, within seconds, I got two coming up this way. I can see them coming through the brush, and it's not very far, but it's thick crap. So I can tell there's animals coming. So I kind of got my rifle, and I'm looking right here, and as just out of the corner of my eye, here comes two more from this way. And they're about 25-ish yards. And so these two are lined out, but they're in just thick stuff, and I think, okay, these are kind of coming broadside because they've been a little further up the creek. They're coming in. You swing over this way. I thought, these are going to be the ones I cover. Red dot was a real payoff there, so something to think about. The scope's already down low. I'm not making any more noise because I want them just to come and figure out where I am. The first one kind of gets past the shooting lane. The second one steps right in there. I whined once more. He looked at me and I pulled the trigger. They exploded like quail. Obviously, they were done. I was busted. It was all over. But I put my wolf down right there. But the whole thing you got to remember is they can hear me clearly up the hillside. They couldn't hear me down along that riverbed. The sound was just not able to penetrate. So you've got to just figure out what vocalizations to use, where you're gonna be at, and you know how to kind of focus where you want them to come in and be. Barks. If you ever hear one barking like a junkyard dog, you're done. Get out your camera, record some cool sounds. Say, yeah, I was near wolves, and isn't this really cool? Show your friends. Because you're not going to see them, they're not going to stick around. It's just kind of one of those things that we're just done. Because I've never been able to call one in once they start barking. He's giving me the high sign here. A couple quick things. Calling safety. It's a huge thing. You need to be very wary of what's around you. They try and find yourself a spot that's at least a little bit protected from the back if you can't see what's behind you. Because like I said, where we're hunting, there's wolves, bears, lions, grizzlies. So try and have the best possible field of view. If you do call in a bear, calling bears is fun. Black bears is fun in the spring or fall whenever you're out doing it. But the thing about bears is calling continuously is what brings in a bear. If you stop, you can watch a bear, say if you're in the summertime, you just happen to see one out. You start calling, he'll perk up and he'll start heading your way. You stop blowing 30 seconds, less than a minute without a blow, he'll find himself a stump or something to do. So the secret with bears is stop calling. Okay, if it's a grizzly bear coming your way, you just be quiet. Obviously, you got to figure out the distance. I've called in a sow and a big 2-year-old baby one time, and they looked like buffalo coming through this tall brown grass that was in a lake where it flowed out, and it was just dead grass out there. And I thought, holy cow, I know what this is. And I just stopped calling. And pretty soon, they start drifting off. And it was just fine with me because I'm just sitting there with my 300 and my pistol thinking I don't want any part of dealing with two grown grizzly bears. So once again, don't make any sound because those bears will get bored very quickly. They were coming in like they were on a string when I was cranking on my call pretty heavy because this is one of my favorite wolf hunting areas. But just be wary of your surroundings. Be wary of dealing with bears, particularly big bears. So. We're really done? Okay. All right, well, I pretty much hit it. Other thing is, watch the weather. One minute. If it's light snow, oh, that's great weather. Because you've got the movement of the falling snow, so that's less to betray you when you're moving around, or whether you're sitting down, or whether you're moving your rifle or using your call. It's obviously dead quiet. That's a beautiful thing. If it's a light rain, that doesn't bother them either. Heavy rain, I've had 0 success, plus I'm miserable. And if there's heavy wind, the animals lay down in the heavy wind, the prey animals do, and I think the predators do too, because there's so much movement, so much noise. I think that's just very disorienting to them, and they don't seem to be out hunting in that. So Earlier in the mornings is great. I don't like hunting in the evenings just because it gets dark so fast on me that by the time it's maybe time to locate them and get them worked, boom, it's 6 o'clock and the sun's gone down and I'm done. So I like those mornings. That's kind of my favorite things.
Okay,
All right.
Jay, are you gonna stick around this afternoon?
Be